Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Richard Baron, Executive Director of the 2050 Pathways Platform. Welcome to this event on charting low emission pathways and climate resilience plans through ambitious long-term strategies. MDBs join forces to support countries. The 2050 Pathways Platform is a multi-stakeholder initiative that was created to support countries in the elaboration of inclusive ambition, long-term low-emission development strategies. We've been at it for 7 years now, and we're very happy to take part in this event to bring this to a new stage. Let me give you some information about the event today. We'll have 3 sessions starting with introductions and then going into 2 panels that will be consecutively on this podium here, which I will introduce in due course. So the session objective is to focus on a dynamic interaction with donors, country representatives, implementing partners, and MDBs to articulate the critical role of LTS, as we call them, towards achieving the goals of the Paris Agreement, and also to launch an initiative of the MDBs to support countries in formulating and implementation of long-term climate strategies. Having said that, let me jump right into the first opening statements from our colleague from the World Bank. Sudarshan Kanagaraja is Practice Manager, Climate Change Group, the World Bank. Sudarshan, you've got the floor.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for the launch of the MDB LTS program. Or you should, introduce me so I don't have to introduce myself. I'd like to start by specifically acknowledging the presence of our counterparts. We have various people here from country, ministers, deputy ministers, directors, our donor partners, our implementing partners, and fellow heads of multilateral development banks. It is great that so many of you are able to join us today. At the World Bank, we are working on transforming the way that we respond to the compounding crisis and evolving the way we work in countries to help achieve our SDGs, net zero green gas emissions, and other global challenges. And we are doing this by working with others. We are here today to launch the joint MDB LTS program. Under the Paris Agreement, signatories are encouraged to prepare long-term low-emission development strategies, LTS, as we usually call them, to chart pathways for achieving net zero emission targets, ideally by mid-century. These long-term strategies are country-owned documents developed through intensive stakeholder engagement and technical modeling and analysis to define specific sectoral transformations that would achieve net zero. Formulating an impactful country-owned LTS requires significant time and expertise and resources. An LTS preparation follows a multi-step process that provides many opportunities for the MDB engagement and to support their mitigation and adaptation programs. Currently, 7 countries plus the EU have prepared LTSs with the vast majority being upper and middle income countries. Much more support is needed in advance the formulation of LTSs in all developing countries. MDBs are uniquely positioned to support client countries in the formulation of LTSs by coordinating their global reach, in-country presence, and the ability to accelerate and mobilize finance by linking climate policy to investments and lending programs. This is the key driver for the establishment of this joint initiative. MDBs will, in partnership to support countries, develop and implement ambitious and comprehensive long term strategies. Since the last COP, we have made strides in establishing the joint MDB LTS program. This program will help MDBs to access the needed financial resources to support the formulation of LTSs in developing countries and the coordination of LTS support all countries that are in need. As some of you here know, that for the IDA program, this is the policy commitment. In IDA 20, we are supposed to achieve 50 countries to have NDC LTSs. And in the next week, this week's midterm review, we have achieved the midterm target of 23 countries. So we need to do more. We are happy to announce that the program will be housed under the Climate Support Facility of the World Bank, which is an umbrella multi donor trust fund housed in the climate group. The CSF is an important catalyst to the bank's effort to mainstream climate in development. It provides an important platform for strengthening global partnerships and collaboration on climate action and disseminating knowledge, and is an agile vehicle for funding climate action. The CSF mission is to support developing countries in accelerating their transition to low carbon, climate resilient development. The program aims to support developing countries to chart pathways to decarbonize in a timely manner, build climate resilience, and facilitate an orderly transition for all sectors of the economy and society to net zero. This program is uniquely positioned to facilitate collaboration and coordination across multiple sectors, stakeholders, and ministries. During today's meeting, we would like to we would like to have the opportunity to achieve two things. First, following my presentation by my colleagues who will discuss how we are going to do the technical work on LTSs. And after that, we would like to hear from counterparts how we can support their efforts to develop long term climate resilient strategies, and how we can work together more closely with other partners and as MDBs, where you see the greatest potential for LTS support, and what is most important to help transform and move forward on your climate agenda. Second, we would like to use this opportunity to forge stronger alliance between the donors, multilateral development banks, implementing partners in using the joint MDB LTS program to mobilize the much needed resources, initially aiming for $250 million over a 5-year period. The program also provides a platform for increased collaboration and coordination towards supporting governments at different levels, including national, subnational, and sectoral levels. Such collaboration coordination across sectors and jurisdictions is very important to realize the full LTS development opportunities. It helps to create long term economy wide vision and low carbon, climate resilient development that we have a strong buy in and implementation potential at all levels. Today, we formally and jointly launched the program, kicking it off to full operationalization. The initial strong commitments from Germany, France, UK, and UAE governments. Other donors have also expressed their commitment to support the program, and we will be pursuing formalization of these interests in the next year. We welcome more donors who are here to support capitalization of this initiative to meet the growing demand. We look forward to our discussion today, and thank you. And now let me turn it back to Richard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sudarshan. Then, without further ado, can I invite Dave Groves to take the podium and give us some context for all of these activities, Dave?
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me just make sure I have. All right, great. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you, Richard, for kicking this off, and Sudarshan for setting the stage. I'm going to do just a little bit more stage setting, I think, just for a few minutes, and then we'll turn the discussion over to our panels. So first of all, let me just take a minute to just remind everybody what a long-term strategy is and why it's so important. So as Sudarshan mentioned, this is a country-owned document. It's a document that helps elaborate how different sectors can transform to reduce emissions down to net zero. It's developed through intensive stakeholder engagement, supported by modeling and analytics. And because of that, it's a complicated and challenging process. The value of the LTS is that it can guide the development of a country, help organize or help crowd in financing, and also guide how MDBs engage and support that country. Here's just an example of one of the simple one outcome from an LTS process. This is Georgia's very recent LTS, and just shows you how through the analysis and deliberation, a country can come to propose a pathway for its emissions across different sectors to achieve a goal of net zero by 2050 in this case. So formulating an LTS is hard. It can take several years, and it involves a complicated set of steps, but they're really important. They include an initiation step where country ministries are collaborating together to really develop the buy-in and the develop the buy-in and mandate for developing an LTS and establishing a vision for how ambitious that will be, what time frame for achieving net zero. It then moves into an iterative, analytical and deliberative pathway design loop in which modeling and analytics are used to develop different pathways, and then stakeholders are involved to weigh the different trade-offs of speed of ambition and types of policy interventions. Lastly, it moves into a finalization operationalization stage where all of that technical information and technical findings are then converted into policies and near-term and longer-term steps. So MDBs are uniquely suited to participate in this process. MDBs have a lot of experience and the technical resources and the financial resources to help support these processes. And also, the process of an LTS, the long-term time horizon of an LTS is very consistent with the long-term time horizon of MDB support. And so really it can be a platform for developing a way in which MDBs can support long-term development in a country. So this map shows different, well, Sudarshan mentioned that 68 countries have submitted LTSs. What I've done here is flip it around and say, well, which low and middle income countries have not yet submitted LTSs, and how does that map, how does that overlap with where MDBs are already supporting NDC and LTS support activities? And you can see here that there's many countries, over 100 low and middle income countries that have not yet submitted LTSs. Those are the countries that are not shaded. And you can see by the circles that there's a lot of MDB activity in those countries. And so what we want to do with this program is leverage that experience, that those engagements, and help coordinate them to basically bring us, to the point where all countries have LTSs and they're in their operationalization stage. So today, as Sudarshan mentioned, we're launching a new MDB LTS program. It's comprised of the 10 MDBs listed there, and as Sudarshan mentioned, it's housed within the Climate Support Facility, which is a multi-donor trust fund within the bank. And the purpose of the LTS program is to help support MDB-led collaboration and support. It's to accelerate how much and how quickly we can support other countries in developing LTSs by pooling donor resources and better coordinating how we support countries. And also this can lead to more systematic support for other aspects of the transition, such as supporting carbon markets and mobilizing private sector funding. So what are the key activities? We see it as three activities. First is really pulling and coordinating that support for LTS. So as Sudarshan mentioned, we have a target of $250 million to support 5 years of LTS support. And with that comes the responsibility for the MDBs to coordinate and to work very closely with our country counterparts to identify the right opportunities, the right teams to support the countries, and basically channel that funding in the best way. So that's one part. The second part is to actually do the support of the LTS elaboration or formulation. And then lastly, really build on all the great work that's being done in terms of global outreach by 2050 Pathways, IDRI, NDC Partnership, and others, and just really help the MDBs, come and bring their experience and have to that conversation in a more effective way. So the MDB program is designed to get results quickly. So you can see here that we've got 5 outputs or outcomes that we're targeting. So first is developing or helping countries formulate, hundreds of LTSs or 100 LTS beginning with at least 20 high priority countries as soon as funding is secured. We see that this program can really help strengthen the institutions and the countries in which we work and really increase technical capacity to both further elaborate on their own LTSs and then move into operationalization. We think a key objective is to increase and build knowledge on how best to both formulate as well as overcome obstacles to operationalizing LTSs. And then lastly, really increase the global cooperation and coordination. All right, so just to reflect the urgency once more, we have a two-phase approach to this program. We're hoping to commence activities really early next year with our first set of countries and country support, and then in the subsequent year expand much beyond the first 20 countries. And there's, we're designing this program to provide opportunities for everyone to be involved. As a donor, of course, we're looking for support. As countries, we're looking for you to signal interest to working with this collaboration, and then of course we would look to work with you to help you develop your LTSs. And then lastly, coordinating with the other development partners just to build on all the work that they've done and just be part of the same team in driving this agenda. Okay, so with that, I'm just going to briefly mention the purpose of the panel is to bring together donors, MDBs, partners, as well as country representatives. We have an interesting set of countries here that represent different types of LTS support, which the program would support, such as scaling up from an NDC to a full LTS, starting from scratch and developing an LTS, a whole economy LTS, as well as a more focused sector-specific low carbon pathway, which can feed into an LTS, in this case, focused on urban centers. All right, with that, thank you so much for your attention. I hope I didn't take too much time, and over to you, Richard.
Thank you very much, Dave, for giving us an overview of what we've been quite busy with, some of us, over the years now, and that was an excellent summary of the approaches that we need to roll out going forward. And congratulations on the program. So let me now introduce the panel that's with us today. We're right on time, so we have ample time to actually engage in the discussion with those that are the primary interested parties here. To my right is Birgit Strube, Head of Division, Climate and Development Partnerships of BMZ. Next to her is Jerome Ilagan, who is representing the Commissioner for Climate Change Commission of the Philippines. And on the further end part here is Vice Minister Marco Vinicio Ochoa, who's Climate Change and Natural Resources responsible at the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources of Guatemala. So we've prepared questions for you, and we'd very much like to hear your reflections one after the other over the role of long-term strategies in particular, and how you will contribute or embrace this topic. So Birgit Strube, we acknowledge Germany's contribution, long-standing contribution to the development on long-term climate policies and strategies, and this has had quite an impact in bringing others on board as well to support this work. What would you see then as critical to the success of this new LTS program, and what message could you share with other potential partners?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on this panel, where we will launch a very, very new initiative and a very strategically important initiative from my point of view. So first of all, and that's what we've already heard in the presentation, is that long-term strategies are really key documents to outline the country's path to net zero. And jointly and with other partners, we believe that the multilateral development banks play a really crucial role in developing these LTS. So I'm really happy that we are having this launch today, and I'm really happy that MDBs, came together to develop this approach. And I must say, I think the discussion went on already quite for a long time, and I'm really pleased, that today this launch is going to happen. So allow me also to thank, all colleagues involved for their hard work and to make this happen. This is very much appreciated from the German government. We do believe that World Bank, that MDBs are in an excellent position, to work on LTS together with partner countries and other bilateral donors and implementing agencies. And LTS are really essential in the transition to resilient net zero economies. So, and we've just heard in the presentation that there are not yet that many LTS existent. And that there is still a lot of work to be done. And we do believe that with this initiative and this new program, we can go a good step forward in this regard. As I already said, MDBs are crucial players in this regard. And we do believe that greater effectiveness to work together on platform approaches is an excellent, way forward to do this. And so we also appreciate the work of the MDBs to work on these country climate platform approaches. I think there's a lot of discussion during this climate conference about the platform approaches, and we really believe, having the experience already, from the chat piece, we really believe that this is the right way forward. I have 3 points to share. And some of the points I will raise now, we've already heard in the presentation. So it's not new to you, but I think it's important for us, to stress and underline the important issues from the side of the German government. So number one is engaging in policy dialogue with partner countries. Number two is foster an intensive dialogue on cooperation about MDBs, obviously. And number three is to engage proactively also with other actors. So on number one, engaging in deeper policy dialogue. Crucial is that LTS are developed in an economy-wide approach, and in an economy-wide approach involving all stakeholders in order to foster broad ownership of the strategy and to pave the way for its implementation. This includes an engagement in policy dialogue on ambitious and crucial reforms. And I think, this engagement in reforms, working on policies, is really necessary to make the transformation happen. Fostering an intensive dialogue and cooperation among MDBs, I think it's very obvious. I mean, multilateral development banks are working in countries and, in the same countries. And I mean, there was coordination, but we think that there is definitely more coordination needed. And we do believe that the LTS program provides a way to foster and intensify this dialogue and cooperation. I think there is a need for a true knowledge exchange also in the division of labor, I mean, who is doing what and who could work with the work of others. So not everyone needs to do everything. So I think that's important. And that it's also important, that we see each other as partners and not as competitors. So I think this program is really also a way to work closer together and to develop together a value added. And I'm really happy that with our support, we will see the first closer cooperation between the World Bank and the IDB under this program, under this LTS program. So I think this is a really good start. Third point, to engage proactively with other actors. Of course, a number of actors are working on LTS, also beyond the MDBs. And we do think that also this program and the platform approaches provide a way for even closer collaboration, not only among the banks, but also, with DFIs, with other bilateral implementing agencies, and also other partnerships, such as the NDCP, and it was already mentioned, I think, by you, and I saw it in your presentation. So that's very much appreciated. We really see this LTS program also as a contribution to the NDC partnership. Very important point for us. Yeah, I think I'll leave it here. Last but not least, and I think that is very good news given the difficult budget situation in our country at the moment. I'm really happy to announce that the BMZ has managed to keep and will support the MDB's joint LTS program, including the CSF, that's the Climate Support Facility, the CSF's work on NDC LTS with 10 million euro. So this is our initial contribution to this new program. And we really hope and will work for it that there will be more money. But for the time being, and given the discussions we have at home, it's the 10 million for now. And we're really looking forward to working with you, and also to collaborate, with everyone in this room and beyond to make this program a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these words of encouragement, but also putting the money on the table is going to be put to good use. We know we've seen the map of the number of countries where we still need to do the job, and it's definitely welcome by them as well. Let me now turn to Jérôme Ilagan from the Philippines. So the Philippines has developed very robust national policy frameworks, and let me list some of them. There's the Philippine Development Plan, the National Framework Strategy on Climate Change, the National Climate Change Action Plan, among others. And the country, I understand, is now finalizing its National Adaptation Plan as well, and looking to update current policy frameworks in the recent future. So based on all this, on all the work and those building blocks, what do you see as the most significant value addition that a long-term climate and development strategy would bring to your overall climate action? Jérôme?
Yeah, thank you so much. Good afternoon. These are our most exciting times together. I mean, in our experience, and this is very practical approach, when we drafted and submitted our NDC in 2021, it was mostly informed, I think, by prior support from our multilateral and bilateral partners. I mean, no country can stand alone in terms of experience, in terms of perspectives, notwithstanding, whether or not a party can support its own initiative. It's not all about that financial support, but the wealth of talent that is around the world that is brought together by partnerships. That's extremely amazing. Now we have just concluded the technical drafting of our national adaptation plan, and we thank profusely the support of our bilateral partner. But it opens up windows, opportunities, let's say World Bank, Asian Development Bank, the German government, for example. We are now fine-tuning certain windows in the elements of the NAP and NDC implementation plan. The latter, we have just concluded the technical paper for the implementation plan of the NDC, and now we're into the, you know, uh, dialogue for the LTS, and that's with support from the ADB. But what's surprising is that many partnerships are also being brought together by that single platform that's just been revealed to us. Uh, LTS is a platform to rethink the ways of doing climate action because science is evolving and so our governance policy. Uh, the Philippines, as I speak, as I represent my commission, is again ranked number one in terms of World Risk Index. And what does that mean? we are aware that that the developing world is looking upon us. What kind of long-term strategy can we craft given that circumstance? And we are not daunted by the increasing, elements of shocks, but we are more or less excited by the ways we can transform our society. Our colleague here, co-panelist, mentioned the economy-wide approach, but we pursue three things: whole of government, whole of society. When we say whole of government, society, it's whole of economy, but one single important element, it should be pursued using the whole of ecosystem approach, because people and planet should be hand in hand in pursuing the prosperity program. Otherwise, we will not be able to manage a trade-off that lies within the sectors. And the Philippines subscribes to the adaptation as anchor strategy, but mitigation as a means to transform economy-wide should be an opportunity to innovate through technological solutions. And therefore, we have identified consistently across spectrum of development between NAP and NDCs, those sectors that are vital to the well-being of our people. But at the same time, it should be uh, robustly clear on how the private sector, for example, can contribute, because as government, we build resilience so that investments can thrive and investments could respond to the economic direction set out under the updated Philippine Development Plan. We have just updated our medium-term Philippine Development Plan that runs 5 years. It has now a dedicated chapter on climate change for the first time, because we have to articulate that all those development spectrum should be aligned with climate action. What is best for the planet is best for everyone. So it is inclusive in terms of putting into considerations women, children, our indigenous peoples, differently abled population, of course, the private sector, the enterprises. We have managed to implement our sustainable finance roadmap, led by no less than our central bank, or the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, with the Department of Finance and our planning ministry. Now, in crafting future directions under the LTS, we have made it clear that this should be highly consultative with the economic managers, and of course, it should be evidence based. We have to demonstrate that science and development can go hand in hand, because that's the way to go. And therefore, we have constituted a consultative group of experts to advise on both the social impacts and the physical adjustments that have to be made, plus, of course, the recent trends on investing in the era of climate change. I mean, these have to be uh, made to be exciting, because we're rethinking, we're doing beyond the business as usual. And I think the numbers are more clearer that innovation can optimize productivity. I mean, without technologies, and we brought the Ministry of Science in this scope to make sure that our relevant ministries can fully appreciate what it means to develop in a long-term manner in the era of climate change with all these uncertainties. But one thing is certain: our government is resolved to deliver what's best for the people, what's best for our multi-layered governance up to the last mile. 36,000 square kilometers is where our most vulnerable communities lie. It's 60% of the Philippine local government units, or the subnational units, are in those highly vulnerable areas. And therefore, this should be part of the equation of spelling out what it means to develop beyond, say, 2030. And we are fully informed of the threshold set out by IPCC. But in all these things, one thing is certain: we are uh, we believe in the power of convergence, and we believe in the power of partnerships. And this is just the beginning. The NDC, the NAPS, open doors for more dialogues, to make sure that the wealth of experience of all collaborators will be, put into the best use possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will take two messages. There were many, but this idea that long-term strategies are to be this process to rethink climate action. And indeed, this is about looking at the ambition and the long-term resilience of economies. But also a point that you stress, because I think it relates to the budget question, and that is how inclusive can you be in drawing these long-term strategies together? Our experience is that the most expensive part of the work is indeed to reach out to communities, and the larger the country and the more you need to do this. And these are things that are not without consequences on the budgets of these activities. Modeling data is important, but bringing it out, socializing the results is absolutely critical.
One important element
Yes, please.
is to persuade the public that we do this for them. It's also a platform for strategic communication in the process. We have to make sure that the people will own the opportunities, not just the threats, but the opportunities. So part of the investment as chief of policy in my country is to make sure that we have a robust strategic communications plan for all these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome Ilagan. Let me now turn to Vice Minister Ochoa from Guatemala. Now, we understand that the design of the strategy is still underway, and that to date you have achieved broad participation across sectors such as finance and environment, and also including other stakeholders from private sector and civil society. So what has been your experience so far, and what approaches did you use to achieve this broad participation?
Okay, first of all, thanks for having me here. I'm sorry about being a little late, but we were in another building. Anyway, well, first of all, I would like to highlight that the design of the LTS involves 5 methodological steps. We so far have done just 2 at this moment, but it is important to highlight as well that the participation not only of the government, because sometimes it tends to some people tends to think that this is only a government exercise, but also we have been accompanied by the private sector as well as civil society. And according to our registers, we have had something like 377 participants in the tables that for us to become with this LTS, and 45% of these 377 are women, which is another important fact. And from the total amount, we have found that 75, those 377 represent 75 different organizations, and 71% of this 377 are from private and private sector. Okay, now, this process has been technically accompanied by 2 universities, 2 large universities, private universities from my country, that are being coordinated by the university. I'm sorry, by the a private consultant that comes from Costa Rica, which is near Guatemala. And before starting the building of the LTS, these universities attended a capacity building exercise. It took 1.5 years for them to have the knowledge for it, and all of this has been financed by IDB, as well as the 2050 platform as a close collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I believe this is actually a methodology that we've been also piloting in other places, and so we're very grateful for Guatemala to having tested this. So do you want to add something on the role of MDBs in your country as well, or on where you are in the process of the next 3 steps that are coming ahead? Or
No, maybe later.
no, thank you very much. So we still have 8 minutes, and I'd like to open potentially to questions from the floor to our panelists. So while you think about this, I can also use maybe the opportunity to ask what would be in your mind, because you are in fact working with MDBs and, in your view as well, where could the MDB impact be the largest on this particular topic of long-term strategies? Where do you expect them to make the most important contribution? Maybe I can start with Jérôme.
Hello? Yeah, okay. I think investment planning is where the most optimized area of work, because government can define the plans, can define the interventions, setting ambition against certain, investments. Sometimes, or many times, especially those that are in the subnational regions, we find it hard to prepare packages to make sure that there's really the public-private sector partnerships in coming up with solutions across sectors. May it be in the manufacturing, may it be in public infra, may it be in research and development, may it be in resource mobilization. I think our banking sector in the Philippines is re-engineering itself or rethinking the methodologies, because we're funding critical areas, say risk transfer mechanisms in the agriculture sector. So these are a plethora of options. But in my personal testimony of what's working best, it's really the innovation that has been pilot tested around the world, which apparently may not have reached us. That can be subject for tailor fitting to our circumstances, to the way our businesses can thrive. We believe that developments would depend also on the readiness of our people, of our industries, our MSMEs, for example, the startups. We are encouraging, people's organizations to also invest. I mean, those windows, translating policies into investments, translating risk information or climate data as basis for fit for purpose investments are the uh, fountain of development trajectories that should be, tried and tested and mainstreamed. That's how I can answer the question at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. And you also stressed the role of bringing innovation and experience from other places into the
Yes.
countries that this program is going to work with, which is something that the 2050
And we
Pathways
believe
platform
that
does.
MDBs have specialty areas, so we can actually optimize. Some MDBs are strong in energy, or some facilities are strong in agricultural productivity. So we are willing to optimize. The table is very much open.
Birgit Struber, you want to speak to this question?
If I may, exactly, I fully agree. Turning, I mean, policies into investments, I think is really important. And you've also mentioned in your contribution that it is really the focus on the whole of economy approach. And this already shows that the task is really huge and there is a lot of work for everyone. So let us not forget that MDBs, I mean, there are different branches within the banks. I mean, there's usually many of them have a private sector arm. So it's also, that the banks also take, the assets within the banks and use it, to develop these long-term strategies and to help implementing them. And I've mentioned the policies. From my point of view, working with the partner countries on the right policies for the long-term strategy on net zero and doing the analytical work, I think is really important. And we as bilateral donor, we are really looking forward also to partner in policy-based approaches, to get the policies in place that will enable the long-term net zero pathway. So I wanted to contribute that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I wanted to stress that we know of cases where the LTS work has actually led to policy-based loans. And that's something that we think is a natural next step. We've seen it, I believe, in Costa Rica. And I think now there's work underway in at least Mongolia and Pakistan. Vice Minister, would you like to address this question as well?
Well, I just want to add that we have been supported pretty well by the MDBs, especially IDB and the 2050 platform. They both have been given all their experience. ITV, for instance, they have lots of experience internally in my country since they have been there for nearly 30 years or so. And this 2050 platform, they are also helping us, and they bring us their experience from another countries, and we can apply that experience in our country. And we expect that the preliminary estimated for this decarbonization could bring Guatemala net benefits of around 16.1 billion per year, which would represent cumulative net benefits of 94 US dollars billion, 94 billion US for by 2050.
Thank you very much. I believe we are reaching the time for this session. So let me again thank very much our panel for having exchanged and discussed these experiences that you have. Thanking you again, BMC, for the support to the program, and we definitely look forward to more of the same. So thank you very much, and I will invite the next panel to join us on the podium. Thank you.